Physical intimacy can mean a lot of things, and we're going to talk about some alternate forms of physical intimacy other than just sex, but we're also going to talk about sex and those erogenous zones and how to touch them in the most pleasurable way possible, and some great foreplay tips and techniques. This is going to be a super fun and hopefully super practical conversation.
That's right. And if your spouse is never in the mood for sex, stick around to the end of the video and we'll tell you why and how you might be able to change that overnight.
Yeah.
We're Dave and Ashley, and you're watching the Naked Marriage Podcast.
All right, let's start out today's conversation by talking about some alternative forms of physical intimacy, and maybe specifically kind of every aspect of physical touch that can create intimacy, sensuality, closeness, and even pleasure before, or maybe even apart from, sexual acts. So, we're not talking about intercourse here. We're not necessarily talking about, oral sex or specifically touching or trying to stimulate each other's erogenous zones. But any other, you look like you're smirking.
It's the way you said erogenous. It was great.
Well, I don't know how to say erogenous without it feeling a little erogenous.
It feels onomatopoeia. It's got like the...
Right. It paints a picture.
It paints a picture. It does. All right. So beyond the erogenous zones, guys, like you can do...
Definitely touch the erogenous zones. I don't want to neglect those areas. All those. But I'm just saying...
Well, not for this episode. We're talking about non-erogenous zone.
We might even get to them this
intimacy.
episode. But I'm saying we're going to build up to the erogenous zones. You don't want to just start grabbing the zones.
No.
You want to build up. I'm just going to shut up for a while.
This is true. So, okay, alternative forms of physical intimacy that is beyond actual sexual acts. I think my favorite one is massage of any kind. Back massage, foot massage, hand massage, all the massages.
She loves massage. When I found out her number one love language was physical touch, I was so excited until I realized it did not mean what I wanted it to mean. It did not mean...
that's great, but I really
It did not mean like she is going to want sex all the time. No, she wants rubbing all the time. She has a rub language.
I do. I love
Every night she gets on her side, and then we go through the same little
song and dance.
Charade.
And I'll say, what do I say to you?
Do you mind rubbing me a little bit? Only if you want to. Only if you want to. And she doesn't care if I want to.
I do care.
But I truly, I love to serve. I love to serve her. And it's pleasurable for me to just snuggle up next to her and be able to give and receive physical touch just from giving her a massage. Even though it's not sexual, it's very nice. It's intimate. It's
connected.
It
relaxes me. So there's times it does lead to other things. But you've been so gracious to do it regardless of that. It's like, hey, if that happens, awesome. But you're very sweet because it relaxes me. Sometimes I'll even fall asleep. It's very, very relaxing.
Yeah.
And it does make me feel close to you. It does bring intimacy. And then something I do for you is I don't necessarily love cuddling like when Dave's on top of me, because he's like so strong and made of pure muscle that I just feel like I can't move.
You're too kind.
But I will give you remember, you guys, if you've ever watched the Naked Marriage Podcast or listened, we talk about the leg of love. In our house, LOL isn't laugh out loud, it's leg of love.
Leg of love.
Even our kids know about it. It sounds wrong. It's not. Okay, so it's literally Dave's leg on top of me. Well, I switched it and I was like, listen, the leg of love is heavy and binding and
hairy.
Hairy.
Heavy
It's a beautiful leg. Can I talk about my dream charm?
Yeah, she wanted me to...
I legit wanted this.
Commissioned...
to commission someone.
To commission someone to do a little gold charm of my leg, like flexing leg, like a golden hairy leg. And
I want it so bad.
She would wear it.
I would wear it, and I would tell people about your amazing legs.
If you make jewelry and you'd be interested,
it sounds so weird.
I will send you a weird picture of my leg.
No, we have to no, that's weird. That would be like fetish stuff for people. No, we will not do this digitally. It will be like in our town.
It's less weird for me to like show my leg in like a private room.
No, I'm saying
that's less weird.
While they form it out of gold. Oh my gosh.
Like put it
this is way off. This is way off. I just want people to know I don't love the leg of love on top of bleh. I don't love the leg of love on top of me.
No,
but I want it around my neck. Okay. I love your legs. Anyway, they're amazing legs.
Yeah, I'm glad that you like my legs, but she does not like the weight of them. She likes the...
Yes. So what I will do, let me get back on track here. I will go put my leg on top of you give you the cuddles because you love cuddles and you feel so close. Like it's physical intimacy that you love. And I can tell it literally like you love this and I'll just like hold you and you love it.
I do. I love it.
You don't feel bound by the leg of love, my leg of love.
I like it when you put your leg of love on me and then you like
a cricket.
You move it up like a grasshopper. Yeah, where you move your leg up and down on my leg and it's like, oh man. It's just sweet. It's not sexual. TMI. It's just
but
sweet.
it's like you feel physical
it's closeness.
Yeah. Right, exactly. You guys are going to just think we're weird, so we're just going to go down this rabbit hole. Yeah. But that is something where maybe your spouse is a cuddler and maybe you're not, but try to speak that cuddle language, where you don't feel bound, but you can, speak that cuddle language. And so that's what I try to fill your cuddle tank because I know that means something to you. And in the same way, Dave is very ticklish. So you really don't enjoy a massage.
I do not.
And so,
okay.
But you give me a massage.
I don't enjoy a massage because I'm ticklish.
Extremely ticklish
but I also,
in some areas.
If like I've gotten massages with you, I've done like couples massage.
Like on a cruise.
And it can be relaxing, but it's also weird for me to have at first I don't want a dude rubbing on me because that doesn't feel right. And secondly, I don't want to enjoy another woman rubbing on me. Which
I will say, there's nothing inherently wrong with getting a massage for anyone. I don't want to, But I think for you personally, you're like...
Well, and now there's been all these kind of seedy, salacious stories of men in massage places, that are getting kind of inappropriate, off the menu kind of services at the massage places, and it's just, I don't know, like it just kind of weirds me out at this point. It's not that it feels bad. It just feels a little bit wrong. And at home,
it is intimate. I mean,
it's intimate. I'm not knocking people who get massages.
No. And some people really need it as part of their healing. I mean, absolutely, It's
not my thing. Like if we're going to focus on physical touch, like I would just...
But I will. I mean, I think I've rubbed your shoulders before. I would, gosh, if you needed a massage, I would do the best I could. But I just know that you get kind of ticklish sometimes.
Well, in part, you have the most lovely, soft hands, and you, in every sense of the word, are strong. But your hands are not strong.
They're not. They are not.
And so
I've never had strong hands.
And so if something's going to happen in my back, I need some force there.
See, honestly, a dude would actually give you a really good massage. I'm just going to be honest.
Only massages I enjoy are I sit in these massage chairs.
The shiatsu massage.
Sometimes, and I'll put $5 in and just lean back, and it'll just go to town on my back and legs and
That's
stuff.
Good.
And I'm like, this is all right, and I don't feel weird.
And it's not ticklish at all.
I don't feel ticklish, and so yeah.
But that's not going to go towards marital physical intimacy.
No, this is just my ADD kicking in. You have to find out what your spouse likes. You have to figure out what do they like, and how do I help them get more of what they like.
Yeah.
What kind of touch makes them feel close to me?
Exactly.
What kind of touch makes them feel served by me? And I want to give that. You have to give what they like, not necessarily what because I give a massage even though I don't really like a massage. It's not for reciprocity. It's
right.
She likes it, and I like to serve her in that way.
And I love it. You're very good at it. You're very strong. It gets right in there. I think you've been doing it so long. You have technique now. He'll use the elbow like a professional and just get right in there. It's great. So I appreciate it, sweetie. I think some other non-sexual forms of intimacy, physical intimacy in particular, would be things like kissing. I mean, kissing doesn't necessarily have to lead to sex, but I think a lot of times the longer people are married, they'll find that they don't even kiss, even kiss goodbye or even just have a passionate kiss, here and there.
Yeah.
But that means a lot, to people who especially view that, and it does bring you closer together. And holding hands. I remember I was talking to a friend of mine not too long ago, and she was like, my husband, it creeps him out to hold hands, but it makes me feel so loved when he holds my hand.
Yeah.
And she said, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's that his parents didn't hold hands or if he gets sweaty and he just doesn't like the sensation. I mean, there's maybe a lot of reasons, but she said, I just wish he would do it more just for me. And so I would just, after you listen to this podcast, just talk about that. Like say, are there any forms of non-sexual touch that would bring physical intimacy to you that I'm not doing? And don't be offended if there's something that they give, like an answer they give you back. And then be willing to think about, like, how can I meet that need? How can I go out of my way to serve my spouse in that way? And I'm telling you, these things really, really build that love tank where it makes you feel closer, especially when it comes to women. Like if we don't feel close to you outside of the bedroom, then it's really hard for us to feel close to you inside the bedroom, right? And even in the midst of sex, because you can just go through the motions and not feel intimate. And, doing this non-sexual physical intimacy will really go a long way to bring that closeness that you're so longing for. And I believe it enhances the sexual experience and connection.
Absolutely. And so let's kind of like transition into that.
Okay.
Like spicing things up. So how do we...
Right. So we're talking sexual now.
I like the way you crossed your legs.
We are talking erogenous.
Erogenous.
We're going to say that like 10 times this episode.
We can talk erogenous. How do you spice things up? So I think more of the non-sexual physical affection will actually lead eventually to more sexual physical affection, especially for women. Most women have a strong desire for non-sexual physical touch and affection. Right. They want their husband, guys, they want you to take their hand, like we just talked about, to put your arm around her shoulder, to give her gentle, tender caresses, to hug her, to touch her in ways that she's feeling your tenderness, but isn't feeling like you're just trying to rush her straight to the bedroom every time you touch her. She wants
like the hugs.
That non-sexual affection. And the more that you give, for most women, the more it will open them up to want to express physical intimacy as well, sex specifically.
Right. Exactly. And so let's talk about it, spicing things up, tips and techniques to enhance it. I think one of the biggest tips that I would give is just taking time to have foreplay. I think, as busy working parents, as people who have all this stuff on the calendar, I think a lot of times, sex can become something that we just are kind of rushing to get to the orgasm. And there needs to be more time taken to really enjoy each other's bodies, to, allow each other maybe to have an even better orgasm and a better connection, because you're just taking that time to really enjoy the process. And I think a lot of times it's like, again, like there's room for quickies. Like if you need to have a quick sexual experience where you're just kind of having a release together, that's fine. There's a place for that, but it doesn't need to be the go-to, because then you're missing out on the greater connection that you can have with taking your time.
Yeah.
And so, sweetie, what does it look like foreplay? Give some tips and techniques on foreplay.
I'm honored you would ask. I think that you have to like you said, take your time. And again, for men especially, this is the most important part, because we do tend to want to rush. It's like, all right, let's skip through this and let's get to the real stuff. But you have to see foreplay as real stuff. Like this is real and helping us connect on every level, physically, emotionally, all the way around. It's going to enhance the overall experience for you both. And it's going to make it much more likely for your wife to be able to reach orgasm herself, which should be a priority for you. And it lets you kind of just savor the whole experience a lot longer. And you're missing out. You're both missing out if you're always rushing through this aspect of it.
All right. So tips and techniques. So how do you do that?
Right. Yeah.
I wanted to beat you to it, so you go first.
All right. Tips and techniques. I would say that you spend time kissing, and kissing everywhere. Like everywhere that your spouse enjoys being kissed, because the lips are very soft and tender and full of nerve endings, and so both for the kisser and the receiver of those kisses, it can be just a nice, pleasurable experience for you both. I would say focus on the areas that your spouse finds most pleasurable to be given attention, whatever that is. And it's different. It's different for, different people. There are a lot of women that just from those who write us, and we hear different stories that really appreciate and enjoy nipple stimulation, being kissed and touched there, and a lot of men who clearly love giving attention to those areas. And there are other women who don't enjoy that. It's like that's not really their thing. The neck is an erogenous zone, for both men and women to be kissed and caressed on the neck and the earlobes. These really everything from the neck up. Your face, your head. It's all. It's got a lot of nerve endings, and it's a place to kiss and to just enjoy. And just to rub each other, massage, caress, let laughter be part of foreplay. I think laughter is a really intimate act. Not laughing at each other.
Oh, no.
Ever.
That'd be good.
But laughing in the playfulness of the mood, of just laughing out of excitement, laughing out of anticipation. I think the way that you talk to each other is an act of foreplay. I think, the way that you whisper, the way that you tease and flirt and just express your excitement, your attraction, your desire. I think all of that is part of it.
Yeah.
And then all of that done at the appropriate pace, it builds anticipation, it builds arousal, and it makes that first connecting point sexually, when there's first penetration, like it enhances that experience exponentially.
Right.
And then from that first experience throughout the course of lovemaking, it's heightened enhancement all the way through to orgasm for both the husband and the wife when proper time is taken during foreplay.
Exactly. And we have a lot of episodes where we talk about, people who are like, well, I'd love to take time, but I struggle with maybe one of us going before the other, when it comes to orgasm. And we've talked about that through a lot of different episodes. You can go back and listen to those. But I would still encourage you, still take the time, find ways that you can both enjoy this more and not rush the process, because you will find that sometimes it alleviates some of the problems. We hear from a lot of women that say they've never had an orgasm, but then we'll ask them, well, like, how long do you guys spend on foreplay? Is there any foreplay? Is it kind of just quick, And a lot of times they're like, I don't even know what you mean. And they don't even realize, because they're just in this process of this is what they do. And it's like, well, sometimes with a woman just hasn't had enough foreplay to get her to the point of being able to experience an orgasm. And her husband, may be getting frustrated with her because he's already gone and then he's not, it's hard for him to get back in that mode, or maybe he's trying to hold off and he's not able to. And it becomes a frustrating process. So really talk to each other and just talk about like where you like to be touched. You need to be able to talk about that and don't do it like in the moment necessarily. You can if you're doing it in a nice way, but I would encourage y'all to talk about it before you get to that moment. Like, is there anything that we've done before that's off-putting to you, or something that I haven't done, or, something that you think you would enjoy that we, haven't done that you'd like to do. So talk about it.
Yeah. And talking about it is sexy in itself. Mm-hmm. So that's really good. All right. So it kind of continuing this on exploring sensuality. You have to learn your spouse's body, and you have to help them learn your body. Yeah. And that happens through communication. Mm-hmm. You can't expect them to know what feels good to you. You can't expect them to know what feels uncomfortable to you. Right.
And it may change.
And it can change over time. You can't assume that it's always going to be the same. Bodies are changing, hormones are changing. You have to keep checking in. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, does this feel good? Is this the right place to give attention? Is this the right amount of pressure or whatever? Like, what do you like? What's uncomfortable? Mm-hmm. Let them know. You can let them know specifically, like, that feels really good. You can just say it, or you can be like, that's not the spot, or that doesn't feel good. Or sometimes, just your sounds and your body movement and your nonverbals can let them know clearly. Right. That's really nice, or that's not as nice.
Like, that's not feeling good. And I will say this too. Sometimes it's not that sex itself doesn't feel good in general. It might be that position doesn't feel good. It might be that as you age, you need some help, and like you need to be on a chair instead of in a bed, or you need to have more support, for your knees or something. Like, I mean, there's just all kinds of things that can change. Like in talking to couples that are, older than us and have had more changes than we've had. We're in our like early to mid 40s. And I can tell, I mean, there are differences we're still, I consider us still on the younger side of things, but we are in our midlife. And so, there's some women that even in their 40s start having like menopausal symptoms, and there's like dryness. And so there's different lubrications that can help with that. There's different hormones you can take that will help with natural lubrication. Sometimes people's like start getting hip and knee problems, and it's like the one position you did before that you liked, it's too distracting because you're in pain. Well, then try a new position. Try something. Don't shame each other for that, but it might be exciting. Like you might even find out that you really enjoy trying this other position you never tried before, and just have fun with it. And again, you have to have a sense of humor about the changes that a lot of us go through. All of us at some point go through. And so I would just encourage you not to give up and be like, well, I would like to have, things spiced up, but I guess it's not for us. That's just not true. I mean, you can bring in things such as like pretty lingerie can make it spicy. Wear it all day. Get yourself excited. Like wear something, maybe there's something like on the days you're going to have sex, that's when you wear your sexy lingerie. That's when you play that one song that is super sexy to you, and it gets you in that mode. It gets you really excited about sex, because a lot of times, man, our biggest kind of, our most influential part of our body when it comes to sex is our mind. It's really where our mind is. Because like you could be, excited for sex, and then all of a sudden you start having insecurities and it shuts down that libido. Or you could be, excited about sex, and all of a sudden you just have a bad day and you're like, there's too much on my plate, I can't get around it. So that's why we always say, put it on the calendar so that you can start thinking about what you would like to do with tonight, with your time together, and how excited you are. Maybe you send a flirtatious text through the day and say like, hey, I'm really excited about tonight. Like you're just ramping up, but outside of the bedroom until you get in the bedroom. So it's like an all day event.
Yeah. Make it foreplay should be an all day event.
Yeah.
And every touch throughout the day is part of that.
And being tender is so important.
Yeah.
I don't think men realize especially how fragile our psyche for women can become. I'll say it this way: our sexual mindset is when our husband comes off abrasive in any way, and it could have nothing to do with us. But if our husband comes home and is just in a terrible mood, or is short with us, or short with the kids, or just doesn't seem to, he could say nothing and just be kind of in a funk. It really is a libido killer for a woman. We really need our husbands to be just kind and tender. And I'm not saying everybody gets in a bad mood. Like everybody, women too. But I think there's studies that show this. For men, when they're in a bad mood, they don't care if their woman, she could be in a bad mood too, but like sex is a stress reliever. But for women, if they feel stressed or like things aren't okay with their husband, generally speaking, they feel a distance and they don't feel like making love. They're like, no, until
We're
we
different.
get this
God
right.
wired us up to be different.
Yeah. So pay attention to that.
Tenderness is the word. Tenderness is
Yes.
key in your touch, in your words, in your tone.
Mm-hmm. For both parties.
For both parties.
Yes.
Be tender, be sweet, and it's going to lead to better experience overall for both of you.
Yes.
So we've got a lot of resources on this, a lot of resources related to sex, and I'm so thankful to be part of a ministry that prioritizes this. Over and over, we have folks write us on our Instagram page. We're at Dave and Ashley Willis on Instagram, or meet us at a live event, or be here at the EXO studio in Southlake, Texas, and have conversations. And this theme of talking openly about sex from a Christian perspective is something that we're thanked for, maybe more than any other aspect of what we do. And I'm thankful to be a part of a ministry that champions that, because so many people grew up in homes where sex wasn't talked about in a life-giving way that was true to God's word, that sex is a gift, but it's a gift that needs to be reserved for marriage. And a lot of us grew up missing part of that equation. It's like, sex is bad. You can do it when you're married, but it's dirty, it's bad, whatever. Mm-hmm. Or sex is, you do it whatever you want with it.
Right.
You don't have to be married. And to be able to open scripture, to be able to talk from real experiences and just say, hey, sex is a gift, and you maybe have some brokenness in that area in your past, or you maybe weren't taught the right lessons, or maybe you have regrets. This ministry is a safe place, and we try to format our podcast episodes, our marriage conferences, and everything we do to speak about sex in a life-giving, God-honoring, biblical and practical way, because God wants your sex life to thrive. And I would challenge you to talk about it with your spouse. I would challenge you to pray about it with your spouse.
Definitely.
Pray about your sex life. That's a mind-blowing thought for some people, but God created sex. He wants it to thrive in your marriage, and so don't be afraid to pray about it. Explore the many resources we have here. If you have had any issue at any point in your life with kind of false messages related to sex, whether it's from counterfeits like pornography, or maybe mistakes that you regret from your past, or maybe even abuses that were inflicted upon you, or just mindsets about sex that you were raised with, we have a book called The Counterfeit Climax that kind of tackles all those counterfeit messages about sex and has conversations guides in it to help husbands and wives reclaim their sexuality God's way. And I'm really proud of that resource, and I think that it could be a helpful resource to you. So before we wrap up today, I just want to encourage you to check that out. And if you and your spouse are struggling, a resource that we mention nearly every episode is our marriage mediators. They can help you work through it, whether your issue is sexual or has nothing to do with sex. They can help you and your spouse get on the same page. You can go to xomarriagehelp.com for more information on that.
That's right. Now we've come to the point in today's episode where we'll talk about what we promised out front, and that is, how do we get our spouse to be interested in having sex when they really generally are not, okay?
Yeah.
So in our episode with Shanti Feldhahn and Michael Seitzma, we talked about the research they've done on sexual desire in couples, and they found some crazy things that we would never have expected.
Yeah, that's a great episode.
It was
too.
such
We'll
an
put a link to that in the
enlightening-
show notes.
Yes. They found that only 10% of couples have what's called initiating desire, meaning that 90% of married couples need to start having sex in order for both of them to be completely into it. We'll link the full episode down in the description, but I'm telling you, this was really enlightening to us because I can relate to that. I mean, I think there's times I've initiated, but I would say most of the time I'm so in my head with like my ongoing list, and I've talked openly about that I've realized, I mean, we've been married 22 years, that I'm going to engage in this because I know it's important, and I always end up glad I did, but my mind's not always 100% there. And I don't mean like, you don't need to force this on your spouse. I mean, you guys know us. Like, this should be something you both agree, like, yes, we're going to make love. This is both good. I'm not saying this gives anyone license to coerce their spouse or manipulate their spouse, but to both of you, kind of open-hearted with the intent to serve one another sexually, go into this. Even if you're not 100% like turned on in the moment, due to this research, it shows us that most couples aren't. And so like embrace in that, have that foreplay, engage in this sexual experience, and by the end of it, you both will be so glad that you did. Just give that a try.
Yeah, that's a game changer.
It
so
is.
The question should no longer be, am I in the mood?
Right.
It's, am I willing to get in the mood?
Right. Am
And
I willing to share in this with you?
Am I willing to share in this moment with you?
Because it's more about that serving.
Knowing that I will get in the mood along the way.
Exactly.
And if you'll take that second approach, both spouses will take that second approach. Your marriage, your sex life, and then your marriage, they're just going to go to a new level. I firmly believe that.
Again, that's why we say put regular sex, okay, on. What I mean by that is regular meaning like it's happening on a regular basis. Like find out what is that number that is your baseline amount of how many times you're having sex each week, right? And then you have it scheduled on your calendar, but then if you have a spontaneous experience, awesome, then you're adding to it. But that's why we say put it on the calendar, because, you know, a lot of this is based on, you know, just working with couples for so many years, but also this research, you know, they're showing that's why this is important, to get yourself ready and to just prioritize your sex life, that you really can prioritize it and end up enjoying it more than you ever thought you would, you know, in the process. Even if your mind is kind of inundated with your to-do list, you can still have an amazing experience. Again, if you want to watch the full interview with our friend Shanti Feldhahn and Michael Seitzma to hear more about this fascinating research, click right here or in the description below, like, subscribe, and we will see you next time.